It's the McShay Show presented by FanDuel. It's our time. It's officially NFL draft season, and you can get in on all the action with FanDuel. FanDuel has lots of ways to bet on the draft, like pick position, team to draft a player, exact order, top 5 and 10 picks, and so much more. When you win, you get paid instantly. FanDuel always has exclusive offers. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use, so download FanDuel Sportsbook app today and make every moment more during the NFL Draft. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available. And listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 and older and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Boy, do we have some wood to chop today. 34 picks, 4 quarterbacks, 2 trades, and a whole lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, you do, McShay.
It's Mock 3.0 time and just 14 days until the NFL draft. Muench, you good?
I'm good, man.
Put a smile on my face, Tuck. We appreciate you being here. I have been hard at work. Muench is always hard at work, but I have been knocking out this Mock 3.0. I got to thinking yesterday, Muench, we've had unbelievable support. Like the people who've been with us since October 22nd, since we started, people who have jumped on along the way, and the people who maybe are just watching the first time today, we're very appreciative. And it doesn't show appreciation when you say, yeah, here's a couple picks. Go pay for the mock draft. So why are we doing it? We're not doing it. We're going to go through the whole mock draft today. Now, you might have to pay for the mock 4.0, which is the night before the draft, because we're not going to have time to get to every single pick. And it's kind of valuable at that point because that's the final mock. But
that's the best one.
For today, 3.0, and I promise you, like, I feel good about it, Muench. I feel actually good about it, and it's kind of wild. I'm not saying it's all going to like lay out this exact way, but I've had some conversations, okay? And I'm reminded sometimes because we're so deep in these evaluations and we're doing shows, we're writing this and we're writing that. And it's like, I hope we're living up to the standard. We've got such a great, like the people who've been with us, like it's like a community now and we're appreciative of you. And Muench, I don't even need you to give out the thing. Click a button if you want to click a button. If not, like you're here. That's all that matters to us. You
Appreciate
are here. But I was kind of reminded with a lot of conversations, not a lot, a handful of conversations with some like, high level people that are kind of in the know as I'm putting together this thing. And I'm like, you know what? We're going out to LA for the week and we're not going to be in Green Bay and we're not going to have huge crowds and we're not going to have all these cameras and flyovers and all and thousands of fans and all that stuff. But we're kind of the not fucking around crew.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's a business trip, man.
Like we're going to live stream on Thursday night, first round of the draft. We're going to be on for an hour before the draft and the entire first round. We're going to come back on day 2. We're going to come on for about a half hour before, get everyone warmed up, talk about what the calls I had overnight, the calls Muench had, how it's lining up here, kind of initial thoughts from the night before, review that, see what's coming off the board next, and then we right into round 2. We'll stick around for as long as it's kind of pertinent. Then we'll come on after day 2 and do another live stream reviewing the first 3 rounds. Then Saturday, we're invading Russillo's house. We're gonna sit on his couch. We're gonna eat his food. We're gonna drink his water and his other drinks. And we're gonna have a blast. And I'm gonna try to get him to run a 40-yard dash in the streets of Manhattan Beach, but we'll see. TBD. But my point is this, like, you can go and you can watch and you can listen and all the stuff. I also had another conversation via text in the last 24 hours. I'm sorry, I'm on a rant. We're going to get to Mock 3.0 every single Mock 3.0 round 1 and plus 2 additional picks because I get 2 trades, teams trading in, okay?
Because you can't help yourself.
I had a text conversation with somebody, Muench, who's an analyst. And he's giving me the dish on what he really thinks about a couple players, what he really thinks. We're going back and forth, and we don't have dissimilar thoughts, kind of traded some different insights. And then I got done with that conversation, and I was like, man, I've seen him. I've seen his analysis. Like, why isn't he saying that?
Right.
Well, the beauty is we get to say whatever we want now. There's nothing holding us back. Conor, Tucker, Dan, no one's ever telling us we can't say something. There's no political draw. There's no corporate draw. I'm just saying, like, so if you want the real, come hang with us for a few days, and we're glad you're with us now. But it was like, it just got me, like, I just got to think, like, if you really are into this stuff, like, we got the goods. I'm excited about it. And I can't wait to, like, unload all this stuff. All right, I'm done. It's not even promoting. I was just things I think.
Just
about.
Excited. You're excited. You're an excitable guy.
I am very excited. And I'm actually, a lot of times you get done with these and you're like, it's not worth the paper I freaking wrote it out on and then typed it up on, printed it out. Because I do write it, by the way. I still write down 1 through 30.
Oh, I know. Your little pen in your hand, right?
I do.
Right now.
I do. I want to deal with Uniball. I've used the same pen since I was 20 years old. Gary Horton, who got us into this business, God rest his soul. Former scout in the NFL, worked with Bill Belichick, also Arizona State with Frank Kush and all those guys. He got us in, got me into this business, and subsequently you into this business. And the very first lesson he ever gave me was a good scout always has 2 pens.
Right.
Literally never go anywhere without 2 pens now. And I always do it with Uniball. There's my commercial for them. They're not paying me. Tennessee on the clock, first overall pick. Like, I don't want to spend time on things that don't need a lot of time spent on them. I think the final straw, as we talked about, in terms of, we've known it's Cam Ward, the Miami quarterback. And I think the final straw was respectfully canceling, meeting with Shador's camp and deciding not to put him through an unnecessary private workout. And that, like, we knew it was Cam Ward, but we also knew, like, with the Shador aspect of it and all, like, with the Travis Hunter and all, like, that signaled that they're not trading out either. Like, it's done. It's done. Because you're going to do more due diligence on Shador if you're deciding to trade out, and that's just not going to happen. So the draft starts at pick number 2. And here's what's interesting. We had this conversation on this show a week ago. Personnel people that I were talking to, it was starting to shift. People were starting to explain, like, well, I really think they want to play him at wide receiver. And boy, I just don't know how you pass on Travis Hunter. And, like, yeah, I talked to some people. So we kind of knew. And then Saturday I sent out that tweet. 2.8 million impressions. My stuff is not, I don't have that many followers. Like, it went.
That's crazy, yeah.
Talking about the canceled pro day, locked in at number 1, Tennessee is taking Cam Ward, not trading out. And I think what got everyone's attention was people I'm talking to, the winds are shifting, right?
Yep.
And after that, we come back on Monday, and it's Schefter and Breer and all. And I'm not saying I scooped anyone. It's not my business. I don't care too. But they were hearing the same things I were hearing, but they're better reporters. They go and they, like, get sources and different things and want to make sure they're comfortable. So when they say it has added value. It means they're talking to the same people and probably a whole lot more that are saying and indicating the same things. Now, I do warn everyone, Andrew Berry is masterclass at this. Within the league, he's known. But he's known as a guy, like, you don't want to play poker with that guy. He has fun with it almost. But I also, like, just baseline intelligence tells you they know Tennessee's sticking and picking at 1 with Cam Ward. Who are they? The only thing I can think is that they have intel that a team below them is willing to give up a bunch to go up and get Travis Hunter, and that's why that information shifted, but we'll see. But in mock 2.0, Cleveland is taking Travis Hunter. I don't think that's any surprise, okay? Pick number 3. I don't believe that this surprised you either, but Abdul Carter. Here's what it came down to for me, in addition to the intel, and in addition to my scouting report and our grades, even though they're separate but basically equal in terms of Shador, and just my football kind of acumen on this whole thing. It came down to this. You don't pass on a blue chipper, a tier 1 guy for even if the quarterback, even if it is a quarterback, you don't pass on a blue. And this year that might only be 2. If you want to throw Ginty in there, there's 3. I know Muench, you might want to throw Tyler Warren in there, so it's 4. But even Cam Ward is not that, but he's in a tier higher than Shedeur.
Right. There's only 2 blues at premium positions, by the way. Even if you think Genty's a blue or you think Tyler Warren's a blue, he's not at a... Right. Okay. Go ahead.
Great point. That's a great point. And I actually wrote that in my notes. And in addition to passing on a blue, you're doing it at a position that is this, I would argue, the second most important position in the National Football League. Edge rusher. Yeah. Pass rusher. So I went with Abdul Carter here, and I think that's going to be the pick.
Is that both what you're hearing? Because we both feel that that's the right pick, but are you hearing something that's the direction they're leaning in?
I'm hearing more about Cleveland and its love for Travis than I am Giants with its love for Abdul. The conversations I've had is how you don't pass on Abdul,
but it feels right. But you don't. It's not as set as the other one.
Fair, but but the conversations I've had that have helped me feel really good about that pick are it's not Shedeur at 3,
right?
And now that could be false, but those are the conversations. So I feel really good about those 3. And yeah, you look at it, like people are like, well, they have Brian Burns and they have Kayvon Thibodeau. You and I talked about this just the other day. Well, great, but one of them gets nicked up, which has happened. And more importantly, the thought of a third down with Burns and Thibodeau and Carter prowling in like a NASCAR package, like get out of town, man.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah. It's gonna be great. Any comments, thoughts, opinions before we transition to what I think is like kind of that next tier of this draft?
No, not really. I want you at some point to get into this. I'm not sure this is the right spot, but you know how when I have something on my mind, I got to tell you.
I know.
I do want you to talk about a little bit about the behind the scenes of how these things work this time of year and the pace of things changing, and that you actually had a mock written and then you're getting more and more information and you got to adjust on the fly and just kind of talk about, you've gotten to a point where you have all the haze in the barn in terms of evaluations, but decisions and where teams are leaning are now becoming more evident, and the pace of that change, kind of talk about how that affects your process.
Yeah. When we get down to the range of like between like 9-15, that range.
Yeah, maybe that's a better spot. Gotcha.
And you got to remember, like if you're watching this when it first comes out on YouTube, Spotify, and thank you for tuning in or listening wherever you get podcasts, including Apple and Spotify. The report's just coming out now. Like we're talking about it like almost real time. So if you're one of those 6 a.m.ers East Coast up with us right now, God bless you. And you're first to press. All right. Now we're at 4 of New England. And
it's interesting. I think.
Take it away. Well, I want this from you, Muench. With Ward, Travis Hunter, and Abdul Carter off the board, what would if you're Elliott Wolf working with and under Mike Vrabel in New England, down in the Foxborough offices, Thursday night, April 24th. It's about 40 minutes in.
Yep.
And those 3 players are off the board. Okay.
Yep.
What is your Steve mentioned, you're now making that decision. What's your priority list here?
I would say this too. Don't let me off the hook. The phone's not ringing. So the phone's not ringing.
But that would be priority.
Everyone
loves,
right? Yeah, everyone loves to play the game. Oh, I've traded back. Well, that's nice. Who's coming up? So let's not.
Shedeur's still on the board. Can't we trade out?
Listen, the Patriots probably like this scenario and hope that someone will trade up, but I think it's too easy. Obviously, in this situation, the Patriots would want to trade out. So let's not make it easy on me, right?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
No, never mind. I'm not going to say it. Save it.
Say what? Oh, you got me now. You can't do that.
I think there's a 2% chance a team would try to move up and trade into this number 4 spot for a quarterback. Maybe it's 1%, but I don't think it's for Shador.
Ooh, here we go. I love it.
What are you
New
doing?
England fans are super excited about that either way, by the way. I still have Membu ranked higher than Campbell on my board. Now, is he strictly a right tackle? I don't know. Yeah, that's something you got to figure out, and you would have to talk to the young man about and feel comfortable about it. And I think you definitely have to consider Jalen Walker here. And I feel like I'm the Will Campbell, critic that everyone thinks that I'm down on Will Campbell. I just don't think he's a safe pick at 4. I think you use the word safe to describe him. I wouldn't use that word at all. I think his tape is good. It's not great. I've said this over and over again. It's not just about the arms for me. I'm not one of those people who's like, well, his arms are this long, so that A plus B equals C. No, I think there are some concerns on tape. I don't think the analytics match the tape. I think he's a very good player. I think he looks outstanding at times. I think he faced great competition in the SEC. Mm-hmm. I also think he gets beat more than people realize. I also think there are more concerns on tape than people realize.
I don't disagree with you.
So for me, he's tackle 2. I think he's going to be a very good player. We are talking about the 4th overall pick in this draft. I do think it's an interesting draft because now, do you take a blue at a position like an Ashton Genty or at a running back or Tyler Warren? Because those are the best available players. I have a tough one with that too, because I'll tell you over and over again, you got to build inside out. So to me, I think you really got to consider Jalen Walker too. Their issue is their need is so bad. Along,
but it's so bad. I know.
Yeah, their issue is that need is so bad.
I've said I would love to see Vrabel working with Jalen Walker.
I know, but if you're telling me Membu could play left, I'm taking Membu.
You know what's interesting, and I don't know, and I don't spend a ton of time on this, so I'm probably not the guy to be making comments. But I've spent a decent amount trying to just like piece together because I know which organizations. Like the Steelers like to put their hands on you, for a lack of a better phrase, before the draft. And it's not always who did they draft last year? The tackle, right? But the vast majority of the players that they draft early, they've either gone to their pro day or they brought them in for the 30 visit or they've done a private workout. And there's other trends with different organizations, for or against. And we talked to Eric DeCosta, and he said we like to bring in like mid-round guys and to throw people off the scent. We don't bring guys in that we plan on drafting typically. But like I saw Kelvin Banks Jr. just had with the 49ers, and there was one other team. Membu's a guy I would think would have a lot of private workouts to see exactly that. Can he play left tackle? I did see him at left tackle. They went unbalanced some.
Yeah, they do unbalanced. He plays over there. He looks okay. That's not the same thing.
But Conor did too, the Oregon tackle at Penn State. Did you watch that tape?
Yes.
He pushed Abdul around a little bit in the run game.
He did.
He pissed Abdul off a little bit in that game. Did you notice that?
Yeah, there was one by the goal line, right?
Saving it for we're doing a position deep dive on on offensive lineman, our final position deep dive, and today's Thursday, so it's going to be, I think, on Monday, right?
Yeah. So I think more offensive tackles get in the first round than you think, my man.
Okay. All right. So you did read Mock 3.0.
Of course I did.
All right.
Both versions.
Will Campbell is who I went with there. And I considered the others. It just the reason I feel good about that is I believe that Mike Vrabel needs to create a culture there, and it's not just about culture and good guys and love ball. It's about like one of the most important rooms in this organization is that O-line room. If we're going to keep Drake May, who is our best asset, upright and most importantly available.
He will do that.
And so we got a guy that we believe that's going to come in right away and become the alpha dog in that O-line room and keep people accountable. Keep people accountable in that room. And I think that could be part of the decision there. So when I say safe, I'm leaning towards that stuff. I see some of the things you see on tape. I truly do. And we'll get to that on Monday with the offensive tackle stuff. All right. So that's 4 picks in. 5 is my first curveball. It's funny because like 4 days ago, it would have been a huge curveball. No Shador in the top 3.
The momentum for this has been if you've watched the show, you're gonna be like, McShay, this is not a curveball, man. The momentum for you doing this has been building for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks.
I do feel like
it's a curveball that no one else has it. I feel like.
Yeah, I haven't.
But you've been like, I want to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it.
I do feel like I need a little runway with some of these decisions now that
you've
been pointing it out for a few weeks now. And I'm sure there's a couple more in this mock draft that you'll get to. There were a couple players, by the way, in this mock draft that I had to like look away as I was typing them in off my notes.
I know the number one for that one too.
Yeah,
we'll get into it.
But it ain't about me. It ain't about my grades or where I rank them. It's about what I'm hearing and what I believe is the most likely scenario given where they pick and what's still on the board. Okay. Jacksonville at 5, Jalen Walker, Georgia. Listen, everyone's put Mason Graham there, the Michigan defensive tackle. I'd have zero issue with it. Okay. I'm just looking at this from like a perspective of James Gladstone, the GM. His background coming from the Rams was an integral part of the decision to draft Jared Verse. But they also drafted Braden Fisk. So like I can be talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit, but you saw the impact that Verse had, especially both of those players, but Verse especially as a rookie. You've got this defensive line group that's big, not like they're big on the edge with Walker and they can play inside. I feel like they can be better versus the run. And they weren't very good versus the run last year. But you want to know what they were? Dead last in passing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you make, because everyone talks about how bad the run defense is, and it was bad, but guess what was worse? The pass defense.
And you know what else? Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen, they combined for 18 and a half sacks last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Nobody else on that team, on that defense, had more than three sacks. So it's a two-man show.
Mm-hmm.
So in this league of pass-happy offenses, percentage that you're in nickel and dime, and a guy in Walker that we rush him off the edge when we want to rush him off the edge. We can drop him in coverage. We can play him off the ball. We're now multiple. You listen to every new defensive coordinator in their interviews. Like you should play a drinking game to multiple. The word multiple. We need to be multiple. Our fronts are multiple. We've got to have positional versatility. We got to have scheme versatility. You know, I don't know. I just like that.
We used to have those charts. This guy's a 3-4 guy. This guy's a 4-3 guy. It's almost like you can do tendencies, but you can't really. There's no one set in stone like that anymore.
Yeah, we're not to the point of like positionless basketball, right? But we're getting closer.
Yeah, especially in certain positions. Yep.
Number 6. Very interesting that late in this process, after hearing nothing about it, and we talked so much about Tom Brady, his influence, how it's a flag that he's planting, that he's going to be part of helping the league understand how important it is for young quarterbacks to develop. He is part of the decision to bring in Geno Smith, turning 35. Still could have 3-4 years left, but may only have a couple at a high level. You know, we've seen really good quarterbacks that we thought were going to play a while start to break down around now. Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers. Okay. We're entering that neighborhood now. Okay.
Yeah. There's only one Brady.
So it would be a really interesting time. And you didn't bring Pete Carroll in. Pete Carroll's not here for a 7-year rebuild, bruh.
No.
Like we're, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I know Pete pretty well. Pete's not like, yeah, we're going to grind this thing out for 3 years. We're going to turn the programmer. Like Pete's like, no, now let's go.
Yeah.
Chewing his gum, like bouncing off the walls. So you're not picking here again is the organizational mindset. And I know you could say that for all these organizations, but I only bring this up because I do find it fascinating that they now all of a sudden, we've been hearing about the Giants flying here and there and private workouts coming in and the Browns. And we've heard different organizations. I'm trying to think some other organizations that I feel like have had a lot of noise. Like the Rams are meeting with these guys and But the Raiders have just kind of been quiet. The Jets have been rumored with several guys, and we'll get to the Jets in a minute. But now all of a sudden, the Raiders are it's like Jackson Dart here and Milrow, I believe. Like they've had some private workouts recently, so that part is like keep an eye on it. Also, might be just smart business. Schneider and Pete were damn good at this. Schneider and Pete they wouldn't just go out and go to a private workout and let a reporter pick up on it. They'd go and they'd do like an Instagram post. Like, you want him? Come up ahead of us and get him.
Right.
Or call
because we're here.
We're here. But we actually want you to go to 5. Call Jacksonville.
Right.
Because we're going to take him, So keep all that stuff in mind. I went with chalk here, Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah.
Everyone says he wants his beast mode. I see I just can't unsee he's like a shorter, thicker Alvin Kamara, man. Just the way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a great comp.
Quickness. Yeah, he's a little bit stronger. Kamara's a little bit but I
touch the ball well.
Really well.
Mm-hmm.
And don't need much, don't need to be running routes or down the field to have big impact plays. Like they can catch that quick outlet.
Yeah, and Kamara didn't run the 4.4s, did he? I don't think he ran. I think he was a 4.5 guy. Like that.
I actually looked that up. It wasn't blistering. He had a weird process, man. He had a weird process.
Yeah.
And that's why
people were on him late. People figured out late. I know.
I loved it. I'll never forget. Yeah. I was sitting in a hotel room in Manhattan Beach at the NFLPA Bowl out there for a week. I put in his tape. Remember, he was like a USC transfer. I digress.
He's an Alabama transfer to Tennessee, right?
Was it Alabama? No, but yes, it was Alabama, not USC. Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to say there was something with USC. Maybe he last minute decommitted. I forget. But I put in that first tape, Tennessee versus Vanderbilt. He caught a screen, and it was like,
see ya.
Spin move. It was like a spin move, and then the broke tackle, and then the next, they hand him off the ball. And then he comes out of the game for 8 snaps. I'm like, what the hell? So, but yeah, I think Ashton Jeanty would be awesome in Vegas. Ashton Jeanty's going to be awesome wherever he goes, as long as they have a semblance of an offensive line. Here's where it got interesting. Okay.
Okay.
And here's where I'm just going to be fully transparent. I had Jackson Dart going to the Jets.
Just let it sink in.
I had the Justin Fields led New York Jets drafting Jackson Dart. Until this morning. I don't know that they won't. I don't know that they won't. There's some love in that building for Jackson Dart. I just want to say that so that people know they heard it. And that I'm aware. And I'm so aware that I almost gave Jackson Dart to the Jets, recognizing that would cause a shitstorm for me. With my favorite media region. I love the New York media. I find it fascinating.
How can you not?
It's the best, man.
Yeah.
We live here in Boston. I hated New York growing up. I absolutely love New York. I lived in New York. But I elected not to because I don't think it's the high percentage play, but I did want to bring recognition to the fact that I don't know that it's in play now, but I do know they've done a lot of work on him, man. And I know that there's some love in that building for him. So I think it's important to get that out here. And I know that it's written in the McShay report. That is a distinct possibility, but I don't think it's the probability. So I went with the probability. I cooled down, and I went with Armand Membu, the offensive tackle, who Muench likes more than Will Campbell, Jets fans. So you would be excited about that. He thinks he's the best offensive tackle in this class. On Monday, I'll reveal what my rankings are. They're done, sealed up. 6'4" and a quarter, 332 pounds. Ran a 4.91. You understand he's just 21 years old. So what we're seeing now, he's just scratching the surface. This guy's a baby, man. And I mean that in the best. He's just a pup. And think about this, Jets fan. I know it's frustrating. I know you want Tyler Warren. Felica, I know you listen every once in a while. I hear you, brother. I got your text. I know you know I did because you've been asking about props already. I love it. It's my favorite time of year. But think about this. Our good friend Joe Douglas, on his way out, provided you your starting left tackle. Also provided you your awesome guard in AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker. Tippmann drafted him. Simpson, guard. And now you plug in Membu at his natural habitat at right tackle.
I like that. Yep.
This would be the first time the Jets rebuild would be complete, and it has spanned the course of 3 general managers, man. Long before Joe Douglas was in town, I was still writing up my needs for a mock draft. I was a little pup in Bristol, Connecticut, writing them down on a piece of paper. Jets needs, LOT, OG, OC. It's been a need for the Jets forever. Mm-hmm. So I would be excited about that pick if I were a Jets fan. Carolina, Mason Graham, number 8.
Celebration time. I mean, they might feel bad that they missed out on Jalen Walker, but to get Mason Graham at that point, to get Mason Graham at 8.
Explain that to people.
Oh, he should listen. He's a top 3 prospect, top 4 prospect in this draft. I mean, we're talking about getting him at 8 because just the way the board falls. He's an outstanding player. And I get that you might be more in love with the edge rusher in terms of your needs, but you're getting a guy who's going to stop the run. He's going to be, which I think is, incredibly important in this league. He's not a guy that's going to come off the field on 3rd down. This is not a guy you need to replace. This is a guy who's going to get after the quarterback for you and make it real difficult for quarterbacks to step up in the pocket. To me, I mean, great value. I mean, just incredible value to get a Mason Graham at 8 overall.
Tucker, roll out that top 10 graphic. Let's give the folks what they want. Fireworks now. Pick 9. New Orleans Saints. Quarterback. Not Shedeur Sanders. Jackson Dart. San Francisco. Oh, sorry. The Bears at 10. I'm getting ahead of myself. Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State. Sam Fran then, pissed. They wanted the offensive tackle. 2 were gone. Kelvin Banks, if we trade back. Will Johnson makes a lot of sense. My NFL comp for him is Travarius Ward. Man-zone combo guy. Great size, instincts, ball skills. As long as things are coming forward, he's great. Not one of those cover 3 long press man type of guys, but that's a good pick for the 49ers who need a handful of things now all of a sudden. And the one I had to turn away from the computer screen, I know you know this match, is Teteroa McMillan. I'm just not a Tet guy that high. I recognize his talents, but it just makes sense, right? Now, Omarion Hampton was considered there. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see Matthew Golden, but I think with CD Lamb,
I see the same thing.
To have Tet and the 6'4" frame, the 219 and the length, right?
Yeah.
But let's get back to the pick that everyone is. Let's get back. The pick that everyone is like, whoa, Tyler Warren to Chicago.
I love that pick. I mean,
I
Tyler
actually
Warren,
like that
great,
pick a lot.
But this is again you. This is so you. I said to you, I don't even know, like maybe 3 shows ago, it's like, when is it going to happen? When are you going to have Jackson Dart move ahead of Shedeur? And I'm not saying that you did this on your rankings, but it's not that stunning at this point, is it? This has been building for a while.
Consider it done. It's done.
Yeah.
Rankings, mock draft, all of it. Let me give you the football
rankings too. Okay, I almost missed that. You buried the headline there a little bit.
I was interested. I was interested to see your response.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Just from a football standpoint, you're Kellen Moore. You take this job. You're not making the decision, but the GM's going to absolutely. If you're Mickey Loomis and you hire a coach who is up for this job because of his record and background and triumphs as a quarterback, then quarterback coach, an offensive coordinator of 3 really successful quarterbacks that will, that have had success without you, but you've done a really good job with them. You're probably going to want to, if you're going to make a decision at that position, you're probably going to want to listen to the guy that you just hired and gave all that money to and gave all that responsibility to, right? Okay. Kellen Moore's been an offensive coordinator in the league in 3 places: Dallas, LA, Chargers, and Philly. Dak, Herbert, Hurts. In what world is he drafting Shedeur Sanders over Jackson Dart? He is used to a bigger, mobile, stronger arm quarterback, and those are 3 qualities that Jackson Dart has. And it doesn't necessarily make Jackson Dart better than Shedeur. In some places, Shedeur fits better. Kevin Stefanski, I think, would have an awesome time with Shedeur Sanders because Kevin's won with those guys. Kevin's used to fast processors, precision, play on time. I'll get you on time, but I know you can do that. And I don't need that huge arm. I don't need mobility. I like guys who are going to and carve people up.
It's the fit.
It's the fit. Jackson Dart is not the processor that Shedeur is, may develop into it, hasn't been asked to. A lot of predetermines at Ole Miss. Just a handful of concepts just run with different motions and formations. And like they run that sail concept. They run like, I don't know, fewer than 10 concepts.
Right.
But they master it. And Lane knows how to, with pre-step motions and formations, to create a very clear picture for his quarterback at the college level that allows him to make quick decisions. And if that decision's not there, oftentimes he was just not tucking the ball and running, but climbing the pocket, maneuvering around, and then letting his instincts take over. But I think his instincts are pretty awesome.
I was just going to say that's pretty damn good.
It's like he's climbing, he's sliding, he's not retreating, he's not bailing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Kellen Moore sees a lot of like Dak. Think about when you close your eyes and you think about Dak, you think about, first of all, him doing that hip thing in pregame. But you think about him at the top of his drop, climbing the pocket, and then kind of moving outside.
Yes.
When you think about Jalen Hurts, same stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the comps that we hear from people on Jackson Dart are what?
Jalen Hurts.
Light.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, fine. Light, medium, solid.
In terms of the runner,
bold.
just in terms of the runner.
But yeah. So that made sense to me. Okay. And I know it's a shock to people, but like if you take a step back and remove the name and all the stuff, and I'm not saying Shedeur's ranked up there because of the name, but I think people are going to be like, oh, Shedeur didn't go here. Oh, Jackson Dart over. Like, just remove all of that stuff and just look at the football player and look at the coach and look at his background. This just makes sense.
I agree.
Moore's not drafting Shedeur Sanders, I don't think.
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you have a better feel for it, but it's just not that controversial to me.
It doesn't mean necessarily much because we've seen smoke screens and all sorts of stuff in the past. And I get it that it's one state over, Louisiana to Mississippi, but it's still a 6-hour car drive or getting on a plane. And he went to see Jackson Dart's pro day. He wanted to be there, and he didn't go out to the Colorado showcase. And time is very valuable. And so for a first-year coach trying to understand his new responsibilities, get everything in line his way, implement his system. So he's not – I don't think he's playing a lot of games with this stuff right now. I don't know. Just a thought.
I like it. Makes sense. I love it.
I do love Warren, though, in Chicago. Just one last quick note on that. Like him and Cole Kmet. Remember, like Andy Kotelenki, right?
Yeah. Kotelenki,
yeah. Did, I thought, a brilliant job of like deploying Warren in 100 different ways, including a center snap to the quarterback and going out and catching that touchdown at USC. But that was the highlight of it all. But there was just a lot of different things that he did. I thought he was very, very creative. Can you imagine, though, what Ben Johnson's going to cook up in his little lab?
Yeah.
For Warren. And then you got Kmet as well. And you got a quarterback that needs to be nursed back to health after year one.
Mm-hmm.
What better security blanket is there to have a
better offensive line? Yeah.
With Kmet with an offensive line. So I went with Warren there because of value over like a Omarion Hampton. The offensive tackles were off the board, but I don't know. I was interested in that pick. This episode is brought to you by Walmart. Life gets busy. We could all use an extra hour or save one. With Walmart Express Delivery, you can do just that. Simply place your order, and in as fast as an hour, it's at your door. Use promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order. No hassle, no stress, just more time for what matters most to you. Visit walmart.com to order now. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum. Subject to availability. Restrictions apply. All right, that brings us to pick 13. We get some work still to do. Miami's a tough one because that Teron Armstead is gone.
Yeah, I have beef.
Go ahead.
Well, do you want to announce the pick, or
Shamar Stewart, edge, Texas A&M. Could have gone a few different places with this one. I don't have a ton of conviction, but it was one of their 30 visits. It was one of two or three guys that could actually go in the 30 visits. More importantly, and I don't get caught up too much in that stuff. More importantly, Calais Campbell's out. I'm not saying Shamar is Calais Campbell. There's about a 30-pound difference in all of that. But I think trying to get a little younger, faster, explosive, versatile, all that stuff. If you can unlock, he fits. That's a good way to put it. But what's your beef?
Well, he fits, and he's a good value there. So that's not my problem. But
he's an interesting one, man, because I also could have had him at 23 to Green Bay. Easily.
That's how this works, right? Every year, there's players that can go 7, then all of a sudden go 24. That's just the reality of it. Good fit, good value. You don't think Kelvin Banks you think this is too early for Kelvin Banks?
And I don't want to give away too much from our the most important show we have in 365 days of this show, even though we've probably had about 170 days, is going to be our offensive line reveal on Monday.
I know. And it's funny because we're both watching so many offensive linemen right now that's where our beefs are going to be, but go ahead.
Kelvin Banks is coming off the board not too far from here, and I see him going to visits and having private workouts like that. And he's an offensive tackle, and those guys don't last. If there's potential to be a starting left tackle in the NFL, those guys just don't last. However, I don't have him with that grade that I would sleep well at night picking at 13 and taking Kelvin Banks, but I do believe there are those out there that do.
It's going to be a fun Monday.
It is going to be a fun Monday. I'm not a Kelvin Banks guy anymore.
I'm going to leave it there for now.
There's a tackle that I like better than him that's going to shock you.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a little preview. I'm getting it's your show.
You do this though.
You're hosting.
Spend the whole weekend. I got 4 days that I'm going to sit here.
You got the memo, right? You're hosting on Monday.
Can't wait. You good, McShay?
Indianapolis at 14. They were kind of hoping Tyler Warren fell, but I don't think they'd be that disappointed with this.
They shouldn't be.
Colston Loveland, you need a weapon. Anthony Richardson, is he the guy? Daniel Jones, I hope we don't have to start him, but if we do, we do. Whoever the quarterback is, I'm telling you, maybe I'm too high on him. Brock Bowers is in a different class, but he's just in terms of route running and understanding how to get open and separating, he's just a tick below for me.
And he's a better blocker than Bowers was. I mean, his effort as a blocker is growing on me.
Sucks as a blocker.
I don't know, man. His effort, I'm telling you, he's not a great blocker, but his effort is growing on me.
Okay. Well, we can fight that another day. I didn't hear that stance when we did our tight end deep dive. Yeah, but Indy, I think that's a great fit. The only thing that would be crushing to Indy, quite honestly, at least I'm sure Chris Ballard has many a contingency plan, and he's not stuck on just 2 tight ends, but that would be not in the cards, and I don't think pleasing. I'll be surprised if it's not one of those 2 tight ends at 14.
All right,
do we have music, Tucker? Do we have
music? Here's where he starts wheeling and dealing.
Do we have music that You would think after 17 years sitting on that set, I would know how to play that song, sing that song. There's a trade. There's a trade. What's that? Come on, producer. Oh, Cleveland. Cleveland from 33 to 15. They already got Travis Hunter. They're bringing his trigger man with them too to Cleveland. I know this sounds asinine. I know everyone's like, there's no way. There's a way. There's a way. I don't think they're done. And if it's not Shador, don't be shocked. If it's Jackson Dart, don't be shocked. If it's Jalen Milroe. They're getting a quarterback, I believe, with that second pick. However they do it. Whether it's at 33, look at like they are flying around the country and flying people in from all over the country. They are doing their work down to the final minute on these quarterbacks. And it's not to get someone to trade up to one or to come take their pick. It's because they are dying to come to a final conclusion of who can we draft now. Remember, we went through this whole long thing, and I'm not going to bore people again, but Kevin Stefanski is a great offensive coach, in my estimation. Andrew Berry's a really good general manager. Ownership meddle with his plan, and they have taken ownership for that, and I actually applaud them. I applaud Jimmy Haslam for taking that bullet. And by the way, I know the backstory. He wasn't just falling on the sword to kind of pump up his GM and make, hey, it's okay, bud. I'll take this one for you. That actually happened. That was not him. That was not Andrew Berry. That was Haslam. Okay. So with all of that goodwill, they're allowed to coach another year and allowed to be the GM for another year. But that doesn't guarantee you 2026. So we've said this with the Giants, and I will continue to say it with Cleveland. We need to win games now. That's why. And I am wrong on a lot of things. I told you from the jump 2 things. And by the time this comes out, my guess is that Aaron Rodgers, I shouldn't do this. We're taping on Wednesday night. I don't ever lie to you or try to be. We're taping on Wednesday night. Tonight is the Pat McAfee's like night out, right? And it's in Pittsburgh. And I've said for weeks now to you. What have I said?
He's going to announce that he's going to be a Steeler tonight.
But I do like your plan better of him screwing up the whole thing. In
the WWE, like the walkout music. Yeah, it would be great.
That would
turn
be
and heel.
But my point is, I've said that Pittsburgh, and that's happening. That is absolutely happening. But what that doesn't preclude Pittsburgh from doing, okay, is taking a quarterback at 21.
No.
And Cleveland, by the way, there's the other thing that I've been saying. Pittsburgh, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. And Cleveland, I said back in January. My first intel, I should have stuck with it. Because the closer we get, the more lying happens. That they don't believe this quarterback class, that there's going to be someone at 2, which is kind of interesting now because they're trading back up to get somebody. But the value is much different. But they want to bring in Kirk Cousins, Stefanski's old friend. They've got a defense. They've got enough weapons. They've got enough offensive line. They can win a bunch of games to save their job. But nothing saves your job more. It's not winning 8, 9, 10 games. It's having a young quarterback that's a succession plan, right?
It's hope. Yeah.
It's hope. So I made this trade, and I did a lot of digging, and I've had conversations in the past talking about moves like this. I had Cleveland trading up. Okay. They move up to 15 with Atlanta. Atlanta only has 4 picks, and we'll get to them at the very end. Atlanta comes into this thing. I'll actually give you the details now, because if you're a Falcons fan, you're pissed off. So let me give you a little bit of love here. Okay. Atlanta, they came into this draft with only 4 picks, I think it was. And the Vikings had 5. No, Atlanta had 5 picks coming into this draft. Okay. And so they moved back to 33. And I gave him Josh Connerly there, the Oregon offensive tackle.
That's a good pick, man.
I think it's a damn good pick.
I think that's a first-round pick. Now, yeah, I know it's in the second round. I think that's a first-round player.
it's the first pick of the second round. There's always 3 or 4 guys sitting there on night 2 when you're like, how are they still here? And they're getting a first round player and an immediate starter, all that. Conor may wind up being pushing for a guard spot there, or potentially as a backup role while he gets stronger for a year. But you've got a young quarterback in Michael Penix, and you're trying to build. And you've got an aging offensive tackle. Terry Fontenot is trying for the next several years to win with Michael Penix while he's there. Jake Matthews recently restructured his deal. You look at him like, he just signed a long-term. They did it to save salary cap money so they could actually pay their rookie class. That's how tight things are in Atlanta. So they move back to 33. They get Connerly at this pick. All right. And then they still now with the trade, they have pick 46, and then they get pick 67 from Cleveland. Okay. Plus, I gave them Cleveland's round 2. They're 2 next year. Now let's get back to Cleveland. Here's the thing that I think everyone needs to understand. And I want to put this in a way that this is not some talk radio, sports radio talk show shit right now. Okay. We're 14 days out from the draft. I'm not putting out a mock with my name on it without some information.
A little something. And
so it would be real easy for me to just go, Mike Green, edge, Marshall, and then have Cleveland picking at 33 and give them Tyler Shuck or Jalen Milroe.
Right.
I didn't. Okay. I will never reveal sources. I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying if you're a Cleveland fan, start thinking with this mentality. We'll get to the Giants in a little bit. Here's the mindset that I want people to understand. I've had some conversations on this. The mindset is this, okay? Pittsburgh's sitting there 21. Even with Aaron Rodgers, they still could be drafting a quarterback there. You don't think Miami's going to take one, although there's like a slight thought at 12 that Miami could take or 13 that Miami could take a quarterback. You have to do, if you're Andrew Berry, and the same later that we'll get to, but if you are trying to move up to go get Shedeur falls out of the top 3. You're a part of that. Shedeur falls past Vegas at 6, Jets at 7. Shocker, Jackson Dart over Shedeur at 9. Now it's like, okay, it's not like scramble, pick up the phone. I want people to understand this. If there's nothing else that you learned today, hopefully that you'll pick this up. They have a lot of private workouts and different stuff. You go back and you go set your board. The final board's not set, but like these decisions are made. This weekend, this Saturday and Sunday, okay, is when the phone calls will start. There's some initial talks, but phone calls will start to happen. You're going to have a call with 10, Chicago, 11, San Francisco, 12 is who's 12? 12 is Dallas, 13 Miami, 14 Indianapolis, 15 Atlanta, 16 Arizona, 17 Cincinnati, 18 Seattle, 19 Tampa, down to 20 at Denver. You're going to have calls with all of them to get a gauge.
You're just going through scenarios, right?
Checking in, bud. Hey, how you doing? Just, who knows what's going to happen, but just, we're picking at 33. What are you thinking? What would it take? And you've probably identified a few of them. Atlanta would be one of the first calls I would make because they only have 5 picks in this draft, right? So you prey on the weak. You prey on the weak. So I got to find, but here's the other part that's fascinating to me. If you decide you want to go move up for Shedeur Sanders because Shedeur has gotten to 10, you then got to do a cost analysis, man. And these are the conversations I've been having with people who have made these kind of. You have to do a cost analysis on compensation because you have already made a decision as an organization that we love Travis Hunter. We're thrilled that we were able to get our best player in this draft, in my opinion, at pick 2. But we also decided not to take a quarterback there, and that same quarterback is on the board right now. Okay. And there's other quarterbacks that we might have interest in that we've had private workouts that maybe we could get a little bit later and we wouldn't have to give up as much. but what is it worth to you to go move up? And so you've got to figure out. To me, a third round pick this year, when Cleveland already has pick 94, I think it's 94. They already have a second third round pick. Cleveland does. So to give up your first third round pick and still have a third round pick, and to give up a second, not a first. Remember when when Kansas City traded up to 10 from 27, that was a massive trade. But you go look at the trade chart, and I know the numbers are all different, but like still, that the top 10, the numbers go from 3,000 to like 28 to 25 down to like 2,000, and then all of a sudden you get in the 1,000 range, and now we're reasonable. Okay, when you're going up to 10 from 27, it's a lot richer than from 33 to 15. It really is. I know it's only 5 spots, but it's a huge difference. So you've got to make a cost analysis. I can give up a second next year and 1 of 2/3 this year for Shedeur. I'm not passing on Shedeur at 3 if he's worth my next year's first round pick. And I'm not playing him as a rookie. So I'm going to take my chances and mortgage away my next year's draft that there's a better quarterback than Shedeur. Because if he was that good, I would have taken him at 2. And I say all that because it's important for people to know that this is what's going on, okay? And it starts this weekend pretty much, starting to drill in on where would be the spots. Because if I do really want Shedeur, I don't want to pay that steep a price. But if I do really want Shedeur, I better make sure I get ahead of Pittsburgh. But I'm not going to start and be like, I'll call Peyton at 20. I'll call Sean Payton at pick 20. Because what if Pittsburgh, Shedeur gets to 15, 16, and there's a team out there, including Pittsburgh, if that's the case, and I don't know that it is, you're going to move up a couple spots. It's not going to cost you like a 4th or something.
Right.
Move up a couple spots to go get him before some team comes swinging in. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that helps Cleveland is this draft isn't so loaded with talent. There's not going to be a lot. It's going to be guys moving up to get a quarterback. There's not going to be guys moving up to get a different position at that point in the draft, which I think makes it a little bit of a softer market for them. They're not going to be competing with as many teams as they might have had if this was a draft where guys at 15 were still Blues. You know what I mean? I think last year's draft was a little bit like that. That would have been a tougher draft to make this move. But with this year, when you get to the middle of that first round, guys start looking. Middle of the first round isn't that different than the middle of the second round in some situations to me. So I think that helps Cleveland a little bit with moving up. They won't have to give up a ton to get there.
Yeah. And if you're Atlanta at 15, I'm just using Atlanta as an example because it's true. I would push back on the middle of the second round. What I would say is if you've got a couple, 2 or 3 positions like Atlanta does with edge, offensive tackle. And I know people are like, oh, they signed Matthews and they need an edge and all that. No, I understand that. But they also just did a private workout with Kelvin Banks. And they brought in Conor on a 30 visit. They're not wasting their time. They're considering it. I'm not saying they're going to do it. They're considering it. But you're sitting there and you're like, all right, if we move back, whether it's Connerly or edge James Pierce with some of the football character stuff, or it's cornerback, someone's going to fall in our lap at 33. And now we get to recover essentially a second. I mean, essentially a second, right? What is that pick? 60, what did I say it was? 64 or something like that?
67. I mean, that's essentially 67. A second.
Yeah. So it's 3 picks into round 3. So that was fascinating. Tucker, let's throw up the rest of the top 20 here. Okay. And I want my good friend Muench to take a look. I'll read them off. Muench, you tell me what's interesting to you. We just talked about the big shakeup, Cleveland moving up to 15. Arizona, and if you're watching on YouTube and Spotify, we thank you for being a part of this. You're getting your money's worth today. I hope you feel like. And if you're listening on the podcast, I'm going to walk through it for you now. Arizona wide receiver Matthew Golden, 2 receivers back to back. You can get into whatever you want to get into here. I went with Mike Green, the edge from Cincinnati. I went Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle, your guy. Going to Seattle at 18. And Kelvin Banks, I did that just so you understand. They've got 2 offensive tackles next year, contracts, all that. But Banks, a lot of teams are looking at him as a guard initially that could kick out to tackle in a year or two with better better technique and hand usage and balance and all that stuff. The Buccaneers, I've kind of went chalk here. Jihad Campbell. Wouldn't be shocked if a team wanted to trade up for a quarterback before Pittsburgh, and Tampa could be a team that looks to do that. Denver, Omarion Hampton, running back. Would love to see him in Sean Payton's offense. Pittsburgh, Nick Eamon-Worry, your guy, Muench, out of South Carolina, the safety, to the Steelers. Then I went with back-to-back edges in kind of surprising order, but I just feel like, I don't know, there's something about Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College that is in line with the sensibilities of the people making decisions there. But it may not be their choice. And then edge Michael Williams, also just he's one of those guys who recently had a visit kind of out of the blue, Packers, and they certainly need an edge. So of those picks, my good friend Stevie Boy, what do you got?
I'm trying to wrap my head around Michael Williams going that late in the draft. I really am. And I'll say this.
He could go as high as 13 to Miami, I feel like.
And I'm just having a hard time processing, but I also see the way this board is unfolding, and I'm not saying, well, that's crazy. Michael would go there. Or that's crazy because I love Ezeraku. I love him too. And Mike Green's going to go early. And Cincinnati seems like a great landing spot for him. So I get it, but I'm having a hard time dealing with the reality of it because I think he's just so damn good. I think when you watch him play last year and he's playing on basically 1 foot,
yep,
and you look at what his upside is, man, to get him that late in the draft, Green Bay, home run. And another thing that I thought was interesting in those picks was I've talked a lot about how I think that Pittsburgh's looking around the division and looking at Lamar Jackson, and maybe they want to bring in Jalen Milroe because they see what Baltimore's done with that. Well, you bring in Nick Eamon-Worry, maybe you're looking at Baltimore and saying, look what they did with Kyle Hamilton, and maybe we can get a guy like that with Nick Eamon-Worry. So that's also something that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I feel like safety play in that division is kind of big between Joe Burrow and his set of problems that he presents, and then Lamar with a whole different set of problems that he presents.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So now that gets us down to pick 24. I got lucky, by the way. I told Tucker to throw up that graphic. I thought they were in groups of 10. I forgot. We're 1 pick. That actually worked out perfectly. I wish I could take
Tucker knows what he's doing, man.
Yeah, but Tucker can't talk in my ear like the old TV days. So I would have just thought he was being a jerk and refusing. Give me that music, Tuck.
Here we go.
Play me that sweet beat. Trade. Giants. You had to sense it was coming, right, Muench?
Yeah, but for who? Who are they getting?
Jalen Milroe. I don't know.
Not your guy.
But I see why certain people could look at that trait. No one has a stronger arm. No one's bigger, taller than he is fast and mobile. It is a unique, when you talk about that position, find me one unique trait. And he's got 1.5 with the deep ball, with the beautiful deep ball he throws. I don't know. I'm not saying I have any inside intel. Okay. I'm not saying I have any inside intel on this. I am telling you, I think both the Browns and the Giants are doing their work because there is an intention. If the right opportunity presents itself on draft night and the cost is not prohibitive. Say it.
Yep. You got it. Prohibitive.
That sounded funny.
It still does. Just stop saying it.
But I don't want people to miss the point. If it's not too costly and the right opportunity is there, I have the understanding that both those organizations, the Browns and the Giants, are going to aggressively be pursuing, monitoring, praying, You ever see a bird stalking its prey? Like,
Yeah.
then there's a little roadkill, and I think the Browns and the Giants are ready to do the if the right situation's there and it doesn't cost too much. I'm reading too much into the draft thing, man.
Oh, him being there?
The NFL does not want him sitting there unless there's reasons that I'm unaware of, and we'll probably get some information that like he's well aware he's going to be a round 2 pick, but he wants to be there for this, and that.
I don't think you're reading too much into it. I think that's a big deal.
He's going on a lot of private workouts right now, late in this process. I almost feel like teams want to meet late so that they can be sold. It's like if you're, I don't know, you want to be the last date, not the first. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
And I also think because there's a lot of talk about Cleveland and Milroe, and Tommy Rees should be considered because you could argue some of his best ball was Jalen Milroe's, was played with Tommy Rees, and there's a relationship there. And so I am not telling you this is the exact range that these teams are going, or this is the exact guy they're going to get. But it sure makes sense to me that with Tommy Rees's relationship with Milroe, and then also Shador with Travis Hunter, there are some reasons why. Okay. And now why with Daboll? Well, we talked about it with Kellen Moore, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, right?
Everyone's got a type, man.
Justin Herbert. Everyone's got a type, right?
We all have a type
until you have a really bad breakup, and then you go the opposite type. So I just see Daboll. Don't you envision? I don't know. I just think Daboll's been looking for something like this, man.
Oh, I mean,
he was with Hurts in Alabama. Obviously, Josh Allen. You know what I mean?
We talk about this, but do people remember who Josh Allen was coming out of Wyoming? Did they remember that he wasn't the Josh Allen we know now? Even that first year, he wasn't. You saw signs of it, but coming out of, he was very much a question mark coming out of Wyoming.
Yeah, and he
so talented, but
unbelievable. But he wasn't the runner. He wasn't even the runner that he is.
No,
he wasn't. No. He was a scrambler. He was more like Big Ben, like Roethlisberger. When Roethlisberger was coming out of Miami of Ohio before he got into those natty ices. You didn't like my old Richmond days of the natty ices. So, what do you think? Jalen Milroe. I could see it. And again, you brought in Russell Wilson. You got Jameis. What better way to you got one guy who can show you, who can lead by example, other guy who could lead by words of how to develop.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My lead by example guy. I got my guy who's going to talk in my ear all day long, but he's going to keep me on he doesn't need the straight and narrow, but he's going to keep me I don't know. I just see that environment.
I would go with Tyler Shuck. I would go with Tyler Shuck.
Agreed.
Think about their situation.
And Shuck just had a private workout with the Giants, and I think the Browns, and I think the Raiders.
If you are Joe Shane and you walk out of the first night of that draft and you have Abdul Carter and Jalen Milroe, you know how the fan base is going to react to that. I might be walking around like Conor McGregor around the building. That's how excited I think people would be.
I think Cleveland fans will lose their shit. I think who's playing? Is it Journey or someone's playing a full free concert in Cleveland first night of the draft? I think, by the way,
you're talking about for Shador, or are you talking about for Jalen?
I'm talking about Cleveland fans get to party.
Yeah,
like it's Schottenheimer's 80s. like Major League. The movie, they will go berserk, man. If you come out of the draft with Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, can you imagine that? Like,
I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying
the New York market
both fan
is
bases.
Cynical bunch.
Oh yeah, the media is a different thing. If you're a fan and you're like, man, we got a dual Carter tonight, and by the way,
I don't know how. I will be curious to see. Yeah, everyone gets excited about quarterback and his special, like his skill set is special. But I don't know. I think like we're from the Northeast. Like everything's met with
a healthy skepticism.
Cynicism.
Yeah, cynicism. Yeah.
That would just be interesting. I would be interested to see. But yeah, 2 trades up, and this now is 4 quarterbacks in the first round. This quarterback class sucks. This is like Kenny Pickett's year.
Yeah,
it doesn't deserve 4 in the first necessarily.
Wait, is it 3 or 4? You got Shedeur,
Cam Ward, Jackson Dart,
and Jalen Milroe. Yep.
Sanders,
okay.
and now 4. Jalen Milroe.
They're gonna have to change those odds.
Yeah, you watching FanDuel?
Get in now.
All right, throw it up, Tuck. And I didn't even get in the compensation. I'll do that now. So the Giants then make a trade with Minnesota. And I had kind of alluded Minnesota's another team. Vikings fans, I apologize for taking that pick at pick number 24. But a phenomenal, like I love this scenario for the Vikings. The Vikings come in, all right. They only have 4 picks I think they have the fewest number of picks in the entire draft. The second fewest is Atlanta. I didn't make these trades just like throwing darts. I'm trying to be reasonable, and I'm trying to like get into the GM's heads and trying to understand like when you're trying to prey on certain organizations who are vulnerable, that don't have a lot of picks, want to move back. Atlanta's one, Minnesota's another one at 24. And why do you do that? Oh, by the way, why do you do that? Because there's a lot of buzz right now, folks. There's a lot of buzz about Sean McVay and Jalen Milroe. And Sean McVay's team with Les Snead are good, bud. Pick at 26. Okay? So you got to get up ahead, and you don't want to wait to 25 because they may have an offensive tackle there, an offensive lineman, or a player that they're dying to take in Houston. So Minnesota trades back and says, thank you very much. I'm not getting the haul. Not that it was a massive haul, but I'm not getting a 2 next year. But I'm also trading back from 24. I'm not trading back from 15 like Atlanta was. In this scenario, the Vikings moved down 10 spots, okay, from 24 to 34. And they pick up an early 3rd round pick from the Giants. That's pick 65 overall. It's actually the first pick of the 3rd round. And they still wind up with a 1st round talent at corner, in my estimation, in Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame.
Interesting. I like the corner. I'm surprised it's that name, though. I know you like Morrison so much, but no AZ Thomas, no Trey Amos. I thought those might be guys that you thought had come off the board before Morrison.
I'm getting good medical reports. And I also, I know it's not a secret, but my
tape
goodness.
Is awesome.
The tape is awesome. I already told you, I can't unsee the 2023 tape because it's so good. I mean that in the best way. 18 PBUs and 9 interceptions, 26 starts. Zone corner, excellent instincts. The ball skills are real. Fits exactly what the Vikings. They're a cover 2, cover 4 heavy scheme. Biggest position need. They don't have a bunch. They killed it in free agency. So let's move back. Let's get an additional pick, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have one glaring need. Let's get a corner who fits exactly what we're doing. And we're okay right now. Like if he's not 100% ready or whatever it is. But this guy's going to be a guy. And he's going to take the ball away for us and get us the ball back. And when you get Kevin O'Connell as your coach and you got a young quarterback, like you give me the ball back, give me more chances. So I like that for the Vikings a lot. Rip it off, Tuck. Show me that graphic, please, again. All right, I'll list it off for everyone listening on the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, appreciate you doing that as well. We just saw Milroe at 24, the big trade. Minnesota moves out. Then you've got Houston at 25. Gray Zabel, North Dakota State offensive lineman. Talk about the culture has been a big word. It always is with D'Amico. But that offensive line group, I found some of those quotes to be fascinating. Zabel with his position versatility and talking about rebuilding a culture in that offensive line group. Rams at 26, a lot of quarterback buzz, understandably. Cornerback is a need. Jahdae Barron with the zone coverage stuff that they play there would be a perfect fit. I struggled with the Ravens. I think Walter Nolan would actually be a really good fit here. I gave him Derek Harmon, right?
Yeah, they're both great though. You don't lose in that situation. You get either one of them, they're great.
Here's the son of a bitch of all of this. You ready? I get down to pick 27, and pick 26, Muench. And I've got Jahdae Barron, my 12th best player.
Right.
Maxwell Hairston, my 15th best player. Malachi Starks, who I think I've gotten like that 18 to 20 range. I'm not going to look it up. Nobody cares. James Pierce, who I think is the second best pass rusher in this class behind Abdul Carter, but has got some stuff. Walter Nolan, who's the second best defensive tackle talent in this class. He's got a little bit of stuff, not quite the Pierce stuff. Kenneth Grant, and I'm fine with it, but that was it. So I'm looking at Barron, Harmon, Pierce, Starks, Hairston, Nolan, all 15 of the best players in this draft in my 18, 20 best players in this draft, all sitting there at 26. I'm having a panic attack. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when 4 quarterbacks go, though. I mean, it pushes guys down the board.
I know. I was there too, Muench. I was there too. What jumps out at you here? Let me rip it up. Keep it up there, Tucker. I'm sorry. Derek Harmon, I mentioned to Baltimore. The Lions need another edge. We saw what that did to them last year. James Pierce would be a steal there. Talk about a good veteran group to keep the grit in him. Washington Commanders, Malachi Starks at safety. Chin's gone after the 1-year stint. Jeremy Chin. Maxwell Hairston at cornerback. I love that pick. It's just a value pick at a position they could use. Walter Nolan, the Chiefs. I hear you, Chiefs fans, offensive line, but there's some good ones that can be coached up in the second round. I'm not saying that lightly. There are actually some guys that I've identified. And, Eagles. I just read about Dallas Goedert, tight end. Don't be shocked if this is Elijah Arroyo, or I could actually see Mason Taylor. I call it what you. I think it would be Mason Taylor over Arroyo at 32, but I think that's an interesting spot there, depending on what happens with Goddard and what they believe the future is with Goddard there. But I went with Kenneth Grant from Michigan. Go ahead, Mitch. The floor is yours.
You win either way with those two, with Arroyo or Taylor. But I want you to know that I'm here for you, and that when you're going through bad times, that you can come and vent to me. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about Jahdae Barron, because I know that was the one that at the end of the night, you were like starting to like, wait, no, I got to get him in here. There's got to be another way. There's got to be a way I can squeeze him into the top 15. That one hurt, right?
I took 4 hours longer on this mock draft than I've ever taken on a mock draft.
I'm sure it's not just him, but you love that player.
In what fucking world does Jahdae Barron come off the board 12 or 14 picks after Teteroa McMillan? If you want to know
this world,
if my true serum, you just got it out of me. But it could be in this world. I don't think Barron will fall that far. I do think Tet could go as high as 12.
I think it's interesting you brought up the Ravens pick, because I looked at that and I was like, God damn it, Eric DeCosta just ends up with that player there. I mean, perfect for what they want to do. He's going to be that interior pass rusher. I think
Nolan kind of add a little bit of juice too.
Right. And you had Nolan too. I don't hate that one either, because they're both great, right? And then
different,
you think about Nolan.
Different styles in what they do, but absolutely great players.
And our guy, Joe Cullen, getting Walter Nolan in Kansas City and just unlocking that. And that's exciting to think about, just on a personal level. Yeah.
Murder.
Walter, he's going to get the most out of that guy. So that would be fun to watch too.
We appreciate you. I can't wait to get to LA, man. We got shows in between. We got 3 shows coming up next week. Just stay tuned. We're on Twitter at McShay13, at YouGoodMensch. Muench. It's on the board if you're watching on YouTube, Spotify. We appreciate you being here. Today was a fun one. Like, this was like a viewer appreciation day. Forget, like, whatever. Sign up for would you Google it, McShay Report? Go sign up. Be a free subscriber if you need to. Hopefully we'll get you hooked at some point and you'll want to come on board for the ride. But this was the right thing to do today. I believe in a lot of stuff we did today. I'm not saying it's exactly going to be how this thing plays out. It's obviously a lot of shots in the dark, but the room is getting lighter. It's not that dark in this room anymore. And I love sharing it because you know what? Like, the comments, the people in this that are involved with us now, it's just a different world of I love what we're doing and I love sharing it because people appreciate it and they're part of this. And I'm excited for the week in LA. I know Muench is fired up to get out there. I also know that we're going to have a blast during this live stream, the entire first night of the draft. We're sending out invitations to everyone who's a subscriber with all the details and different things going on. Okay. So just subscribe. You'll get all the details of what's going on that week in LA. And we want you to be a part of it just as much as we are. And I can promise you this, it might be flashier. It might be bigger. There are going to be crowds. There's going to be music, probably more so than the chimes that Tucker will roll in, but we're going to have some really good stuff and we're going to dig deep into all your teams. And like, I don't know, I'm getting more and more, I get excited because now it's the phone calls that my evaluations are done. The ranking boards are pretty much locked up. The evaluations are in the book. It's printing. I'm ready to go. And now I'm just talking to guys and I'm excited to share all that stuff in the next couple of weeks. Thanks for joining. We'll talk to you soon. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.